name of our show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Large Glass. I'm Todd.
I'm Terri.
And we're excited to have you tonight. The Large Glass is our show where we bring you a new artist or art-related topic every week on Tuesday nights. We're thrilled to be here.
We are.
And I am excited to start these beers tonight, actually. And
So
normally,
we're getting started.
we're going to jump right into it because it's a long day.
It is. It's been a very long day.
You had an epic number of patients today.
It was busy at work.
You had a very busy day at work.
Yeah.
And oh, wait a minute. We got Mom. We've got Ben. We've got John Park.
Hi,
and we've got
guys.
Pumpkin Audrey. Hi, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
So we had a lot. We had a lot on our plate today.
A lot. Yeah.
I actually yesterday got to go to my uncle's house, and he is an artist, and I've been dying to get over there to interview him about his work. And he works in a very folkish tradition. His work has a primitive bent to it. It's very folk art like, and it really deals a lot with mythic and actual New Jersey based narrative that he lived. And his work is brilliant. It's brilliant. He's self-taught. He is he's very humble about it. Like, he kind of just does this stuff in his basement, but he's got over 100 pieces of these sculptures he makes, and I just could not get enough.
Yeah, I was looking at some of your photos of them. They're pretty
so
amazing.
They're so good. And then on top of that, we got a lot to do tonight, but now I'm on a tear. He was telling me about a childhood friend of his named Gordon Swenerton. And he and Gordon used to paint storefront windows in Maplewood, New Jersey. They were both artists, and so this was their thing. And so, I just kind of wrote the name off. I didn't think anything of it. And then I found out that Gordon went on to become a fairly well-known artist. And I'm like, well, let's look the guy up and see, if I can find anything on him. It turns out his work is in the National Folk Art Museum, first of all. And the two of them went on to work in this kind of folk-like tradition. There's Jess Park. Happy Tuesday to you. That sounded so goofy. I'm like, happy Tuesday to you. I should have said that more seriously. Jess, happy Tuesday. I get excited. Anyway, so I'm doing a video on him and looking at his work, and I did some extensive interviews yesterday. It was a long day, but we're gonna do some more of that. So, and there's Dave Schmidt.
Cool.
Hey, good to see you. So should we start?
We should start.
I had a hard time with the beer selection.
Well, you did very, very well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Should we talk about it?
We can, sure.
So tonight we're featuring the work of Jaune Smith, a Native American artist. And while she was born in Montana and she currently resides in New Mexico, I could not find beer from either of those states. So Jess Park says, I felt goofy after posting it. So happy to have it reciprocated. Leave it to me to be the goofball.
That's cool.
But so I kind of tried the best I could in terms of a drink for tonight. And I managed to find one brewing company called Prairie Artisan Ales. And Jaune Smith actually has a series of paintings called the Prairie Series. So that one's on the money. And then I also found one called Mother Earth Brew Company, which I'm really excited about because, number one, I like the clean design of the can. I also like the fact that there's a Volkswagen bus on the can, which is kind of my thing.
Yeah, that is
So should we get down to it?
Sure. I'm just trying to figure out where this is manufactured.
Watch it be in Montana, and I totally missed
that
it.
would be kind of cool. But I don't see anything on
The first beer I had in my hand, actually, and I can't recall the name, but it also, name-wise, was a home run. It was right on the money. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Let's get this. And I actually had it in my hand for a while I was looking for a second one. And then I looked down and saw that it was 14%, 14, which meant that if I gave that one to Terri, we wouldn't have even made it to birthdays. She'd be flat on the table. You poured for yourself.
I did,
I was going to pour for you.
well, that's okay. I wish you had because I have a lot of foam on top, so I kind of got a little.
It's your big head.
Jealous. It's my big head.
This is episode 46.
That's right.
Tell us what you're drinking in the chat. We'd love to hear. And cheers.
Cheers.
This is all of you.
Cheers.
Oh, weird. Okay, first of all, if you've ever had a cream soda, this is a cream soda. And it's called Nitro Cali Creamin'.
It did say it had
Creamin'.
like some kind of cream thing.
So this is like cream soda more than it is beer. Ben says, I'll have to watch the replay. I missed a bit of what you said about my dad. Yeah, all brilliant. So yes, watch the replay. John Park, we're drinking The Last Word again. The Last Word. I kind of want to have that on our show. We should get that.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Anyway, how's yours? Is it okay?
It's okay.
I
can't
like.
put my finger on the flavor I'm tasting in here, though.
Oh, okay, a cocktail. Gotcha. Maybe we could make those. Anyway, this one.
This one.
Hopefully, these weren't our future sponsors, and they're like, "Well, we were thinking about we were going to sponsor you, but you
messed that
didn't
one
really
up.
speak nicely of our beer."
I like the image on the I like
On
the
both
cans.
cans.
The cans are cool. It's not a bad beer.
Never judge a beer by its can.
Yeah, it's just not my favorite.
All right. Well, anyway, let's do a featured supporter, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
So tonight's featured supporter has been with us for quite a while. Our featured supporter tonight has actually been on our show. And so tonight, we'd like to celebrate Sculptore 1. So for those of you who, I don't like to give screen names up to actual names because I feel kind of guilty doing that.
Yeah.
So, but Sculptore was on our show.
He was.
So Sculptore, thank you for all your support. We really
Yes.
appreciate having you here. You say great things in the chat.
And your recommendations. We wouldn't have done a show on Will Barnett if he hadn't mentioned it.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
yeah.
You've done some wonderful things for us, so we really
Yes.
appreciate that, and we love having you here. So, all right. Yeah, I don't know. I feel bad when I like reveal.
No, I kind of like the mystery behind
Who is Sculptore?
Yes, he's
Yeah.
Sculptore.
Who's Sculptore? All right. Let's do birthdays.
Let's do birthdays.
Because we're gonna be running behind tonight if we don't
we
get
are
on
going
this.
to be. There's a lot of birthdays. Man, July is a prolific baby month.
Well, I thought about this for a minute.
Either that or 67.
If you go
is
back
on
from
the
July,
bed.
you wind up in October. So you got a lot of like Halloween fun, like October. It's starting to get cool. People are starting to,
Play dress up and trying to put
No.
this stuff together.
I
Wait,
was thinking
what?
that it's no longer blistering hot and you
it's
kind of want to
pretty
be closer
cozy?
together,
Okay.
So, anyway, all right,
But
let's.
wouldn't you see a boom in like September or August or?
Well, you would
Christmas.
think because that would be
That's when it's
January.
really cold.
Yeah, but people have been waiting all summer to not be sticky and hot.
Okay.
You want to do some birthdays?
Let's do some birthdays. Let's think a little bit.
Like, wow, we
I'm
just
still
got.
trying to think about it. I'm like, whoa, I got sidetracked there.
This awkward moment brought to you by some weird ass
Prairie.
cream soda. All right,
Who's on?
moving on. Who do we have here?
Okay, this is Larry Sultan. It's actually his birthday today. He's an American photographer.
I like his photos.
I love his photos too, and he inspired a lot of people because he takes these scenes. He's got this like pictures from home series, and he kind of he does a bunch of images of, an old man golfing in his bedroom. And,
Yeah, well, that was his dad.
That was his dad,
Yeah.
and his mom also posed for some of his work as well. So he's got some interesting photos. Is that a horse head in the corner?
It is, and I just can't.
Is that juxtaposed on the cat?
I can't tell if it's supposed to be on the cat or if it's a sculpture on a desk, but she's sort of on a desk floor. This is a very strange photo to me, but that's what I like about it.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Happy birthday, Larry.
Yeah, this guy.
This guy is celebrating a birthday tomorrow. Gustav Klimt. He was born in 1862. Austrian symbolist, painter. You know him with all of his
I went with.
beautiful decorative.
I went off the
pieces
beaten
in
path.
gold. You did?
Yeah, well, I didn't pick the kiss.
You didn't? You didn't? I don't see any gold in this
no
one
gold,
either.
no,
Yeah,
this
no
I liked this one because it was
naked,
sort of
contorted figures
with their heads, their necks
their
broken.
heads. Yes, not broken. I love Klimt. I love Klimt. I always said he's one of the first painters that I've ever loved. So, yes. But anyway, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Gustav.
Yes.
Next.
Rembrandt van Rijn. He was born on the 15th of July in 1606, a little time ago. Dutch painter, printmaker, very famous. This is one of his anatomy studies. Yeah, so happy birthday, Rembrandt.
You know, it's funny. I think we overlook at Rembrandt a lot, and we you know, like we can kind of just brush him off. Oh yeah, Rembrandt. It's like, oh yeah, Picasso, or oh yeah, Da Vinci.
Yeah.
Until you're standing in front of one.
Yes.
And when I stand in front of a Rembrandt painting, it is just forget it. I'm always told by the guard, back up.
Yeah.
When I'm near these. So
Yeah.
anyway, moving on. This is one of my favorite American painters on earth.
Charles Sheeler. He was born on the 16th of July. Not as well, because Rembrandt was born on the 15th. In 1883, he's an American painter, commercial photographer.
Well, I just think the crisp, you know, this industrial kind of, you know, like landscape that he painted in such a crisp, almost pop-like way, they just excite me. They just
really
excite me. All right, who's this?
This is Sir Joshua Reynolds. He was born on July 16th, 1723. He's an English painter, most noted for his portraits. He was actually one of the major European painters of the 18th century.
I want to wear a powdered wig.
You know, I kind of do too.
Can we do a show where we're in powdered wigs?
We should, and just like show up all in like the white powdery faces and
Oh my
the
God.
frilly stuff.
What with the show?
And a big beauty mark right
We need
here.
a subject with which to wear powdered wigs.
Because we want to wear powdered wigs. The powdered wig show. Can we do like a wig show?
Why don't
Can we? Is there some kind of art theme?
John
to
Park just said,
wigs?
"There's your anniversary idea right there," and
There you
I
go.
am totally on that because
That's what we're gonna
we were
do.
going to ask about that this week.
Yes.
I think
yeah.
that's a winner.
50th is a good one.
Fifth. Okay, so we're on 46. We have 4 episodes. I gotta look at the calendar and see
Maybe
who.
we should pick a nice French painter.
But we already have a 50th on the calendar. We'll look. We can always shift.
We can move around.
We can move things around.
Yeah.
All right, Sir Reynolds.
All right. Happy birthday.
Moving on.
This is July 17th, 1796.
I just say Camille Corot.
Okay.
Jean-Baptiste Camille
Corot.
Corot. That's a lot.
He is known for his landscapes, portraits, printmaker. Also did some etching. Excuse me, I burped a little bit there. So happy birthday.
The prairie's getting to you.
Yes, I think
sorry.
so.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right. I love that this guy is in our mix. I
Yes.
love this. I really feel like this is totally on. And, granted,
Yes,
not a
Giraldi.
visual
You know what?
artist, but
I didn't write him down, but I could talk about him. He's a big jazz musician.
he is he's
The
like, come on.
quintessential jazz music. When you think of Charlie Brown, Peanuts, Snoopy, you think of his
Linus and Lucy.
background music. Yep, Linus and Lucy. I love him. He died very young. I think he was in his early 50s, and he actually died of a heart attack in a hotel room, which was kind of sad. But it's his birthday coming up. I can't remember the day because I didn't write it down.
He's actually on the 17th.
The 17th of
Yep.
July. I love that you put him in, though.
Well, I felt like I had to. I saw him on the list, and I was like, come on.
Yeah.
This guy's brilliant.
I love him. He is one of my favorite musicians. So
Jess's
happy
favorite.
birthday.
John says it's Jess's favorite.
Yeah.
Good. So we're catering to the crowd
We
here.
are.
All right, moving along.
Okay, this is on July 17th, 1871. Lionel Fenninger?
Fenninger, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
he's a German-American painter, expressionist. He started his career as a cartoonist and doing caricatures. And then he was working for magazines and newspapers. And then, as you could see, he kind of metamorphized,
Yeah, transitioned.
transitioned into
I love these, and
expressionist painting.
it's a very specific genre of painting that we see. from this time period, but it kind of reminds me in a weird way of a diffused Sheeler.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love the prisms of light that you see and
right.
like fractals.
But it still has a certain linear exactitude to it that I really love. So, all right.
So,
well,
birthday.
Thanks, Lionel. We appreciate that. Happy birthday. Oh my God. I'm so glad this guy is on the list.
You say that about everybody.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I didn't say it about Rembrandt or Corot.
Okay.
Mr. Sid Mead.
Sid Mead.
All right.
He was born on July 18th, 1933. Go ahead.
And before I advance the slide, Sid Mead, the only thing you need to know is Blade Runner. Blade Runner. Sid Mead was responsible for the character creation and the artwork in Blade Runner. Here's Memory Vessel. Nice to see you too.
Also Tron.
Yeah, no,
He did
definitely.
Tron from the 80s.
Don't get me wrong, I love Tron, but Blade Runner was by far like the superior movie, and I put 2 slides in by him. You have She's
I've seen Tron.
Apparently Terri hasn't seen Blade Runner,
I'm
so we
not
need
a
to end the
big
show now
person.
so I can go and she can see that because first of all, Harrison Ford is in Blade Runner.
I know he's in Blade Runner.
Come on.
I know.
All right.
I know.
Let's move on.
I love Harrison Ford.
Let's move on.
Okay.
All right.
Last one.
Last but not least,
Okay.
Mr.
July
Edgar
19th,
Degas.
Edgar Degas. He was born in 1834, French Impressionist. I always think of the ballet dancers.
Yeah. I pulled I pulled one of the ballet dancers, but not the
Yeah.
ones we always see.
That's usually the ones we always see.
I like this one. It's elegant.
Yeah.
Ben saying, yes, Blade Runner. Yes, Ben. And I actually I used to take my classes to the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens, New York, which if you ever get a chance to go there, it doesn't sound like a very exciting place to go, but what an absolutely brilliant museum to go to. And one of the things they have in there are the sets from, miniaturized scapes that were used in filming. And they have that pyramidal structure from Blade Runner, the black one with the lights, and you can practically touch it. It's right there. Amongst millions of other things involving mask making and prosthetics, and oh my God, what a brilliant place to go. You need to go there. That would be for you. Jess Park, John just made me watch it about 6 months ago, finally.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. So there you go.
So I'll catch up.
So, and I'd love thoughts and opinions on the second one. I'm curious about that because I think I need to watch that again. We're not going to make a whole thing about Blade Runner here, though, because I think that's gonna make Terri mad at me.
No, it's not.
We have something special to do tonight.
We do.
We have a surprise that I think is really gonna be pretty special, and I am so excited to do this.
I am too.
So we got a box in the mail. I think, did it come Wednesday?
It was not a small box. It was a pretty nice size box.
Did it come Wednesday?
It came earlier this week.
Pumpkin Audrey's like, open the box. She's like dying.
Oh my gosh.
Which of course makes me think of Brad Pitt.
7. It makes me think
of 7. What's in the box?
But this is a good box.
What an awful scene.
There's no blood dripping from this box. There wasn't any blood dripping
There was
from
no
that
blood
one
dripping
either.
from that box?
No, but still.
But Kevin Spacey just,
Yes.
Well, anyway, we don't want to give away personal information on the box, and this front is loaded with addresses and things like that.
And I tried to create a video, and every time I did try to put something up, I kept getting our personal information on there, so I took it down.
Memory Vessel says that's what art school is for. Already Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think that's when I first saw it, was in art school. All right, so this box is from Mr. Hamlett Dobbins, who we had on the show a couple weeks back. And all of a sudden, this massive box appears in the mail. And I have to tell you, we were flabbergasted.
Yeah.
We had no idea this was coming, and I had no expectations whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I think it came on Wednesday, which was a day after our show aired, and I was like, oh.
And it was a total surprise.
Let's not open it. Let's unbox it on the show. So we've had this thing sitting on the table for almost a week. So we're kind of dying to know. And I felt badly sending Hamlett a message saying, "Hey, thank you for the box. Can we open it on the show?" Because it made me feel like he didn't think I was excited. Hamlett, if you're watching this right now, we're so excited
We've
to
been
open.
walking back and forth across this box for several days, just wondering what's inside.
Here's the part where I sever an artery.
67 says an open razor. Really?
Oh, well, okay. The reason why he's saying that isn't because of safety. It's because he worked for several artists and managed their collections, and probably is furious with the fact that I'm going near a piece of art with an open razor. But I'll have you know that I shouldn't say this out loud as I'm actually cutting, because this will be the moment I cut myself. But I actually prefer this to one with a big clunky handle, because I feel like I can feel it better, that I can actually control it better.
How else would one open?
Well, with a box cutter, and then the depth of the razor can be controlled by the box cutter so that you're not accidentally plunging into the box full bore. I think that's probably what 67 is referencing here.
Ben says, yeah, be careful with that razor.
I will. Okay. I'm getting the tags out of the way here, and I'm trying to back up. So here we go.
Ooh,
And there's another address right on top.
Dobbins. Another thing we can't show.
That's directly from...
Ooh,
Oh, and then it's wrapped again.
it looks like it's wrapped in his mock-ups.
Oh, it is. This is a printout from...
Get rid of the box.
What did he put in here? Did he put... I'm speculating on so many things.
So he wrapped it in those mock-ups. Do you remember how he did those mock-ups prior to painting?
I'm hoping it's beer.
Maybe it is.
Well,
Do you want to shake it?
No, I don't want to shake it if it's beer. But we had a whole discussion about whether or not you can ship alcohol, right?
I don't think it's beer though. It's not that heavy.
Well, maybe not beer. Maybe it's some good whiskey from Tennessee.
Maybe it's something
wait.
from Graceland.
Maybe it is. You mentioned loving Graceland.
I did.
Well, maybe it's just... Maybe it's one of the spheres.
Maybe.
Look how nicely this is wrapped.
This is really cool.
Everybody's like, just open the... Oh
It's
boy.
another.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, but wait a minute.
There's
Wait a
a
minute. What
card.
is this?
You have to open the card.
All right, open the card. Open the card.
Oh, it's a thank you.
Oh. Oh my God, that's
He did it himself.
that's gorgeous.
It's very pretty.
Wow, look at this. I like the way that looks layered. That's really nice.
Can I see that for a second? I just want to read it. I won't read it out loud.
By the way, for those of you who are watching who may or may not one day actually be on the show, we are in no way, shape, or form trying to set any kind of pressured precedent here. We just really wanted... What is this?
I know because I read the card.
Oh, you read the card?
Yes,
It says in the card?
kind of. So Todd doesn't like surprises ruined, so I'm just gonna let him keep unwrapping.
Yeah, Terri does not like... Terri reads the last page of a book
I
before
sure
she
do.
reads the book.
Yep, that's right. I want to know if I'm wasting my time. If it's gonna have a yucky ending, why would I want to waste all that time reading a book? Love you.
Really? I don't want to tell a story as I open this because I really want this to be...
It's about Star Wars.
Yeah, it's about Star Wars. Yeah, it's about Star Wars. And how Star Wars got ruined for me. What is this? Terri, what is this? It's... Oh my God, this is awesome! Look at this. These are Memphis, Tennessee pint glasses.
Awesome.
Whoa,
Thank
this
you.
is our new
This is
official
our new
large
official
glass.
Large glass. Yep.
Oh my God. Oh my God, these are great. Hold on. Let's see. Now, I think the green screen is probably going to mess this up a little bit.
Oh, maybe
but,
not.
Oh no, you can see it.
You can.
Oh my
see
God,
it.
now I wish we had opened this before.
That's okay.
Hamlett Dobbins,
Thank
you are
you.
awesome. We love these. Thank you so much. It says you're the only 10 I see.
Oh.
My darling, my dear, you're the only 10 I see.
Thank you very much.
Hamlet,
Awesome.
thank you. We love this.
We do.
You are now...
Oh, and it comes with a sticker for the
I want the
van.
sticker. Sticker for the van.
Probably in the other box, too.
Is there?
Probably.
No, it's just in that one.
Oh, this one's just Memphis.
Oh, that's a different one. Oh, man. This is great. All right, good.
Yes, thank
so
you very much.
Now, we're going to be using these on the show.
Yes.
We have to get some Memphis beer in there. That's the next thing we need to send.
That is the next thing.
My story, really quickly, before we move on to the main artist, and that is this. I was on my way to see Return of the Jedi in 1983, I think it was. It had just come out in the theaters. I had the book in my hand. I was even reluctant to read the first pages of the book because I didn't want any of the movie spoiled for me. I was gonna read the book later. We're standing in line, I'm excited, I'm in 8th grade. I'm like, this is awesome. Oftentimes, when a book is printed, the last page of the book has 2/3 of a page, sometimes 1/3 of a page. But the last page of that book had one sentence, a sentence that could be instantaneously digested. Spoiler alert coming for those of you who have never seen Return of the Jedi or Star Wars, i.e. you're Gen Z, and you just don't care about those things anymore, and you probably don't care that I'm about to ruin this, but it just said, the Emperor was dead, long live the Alliance. And so what happened was the book fell open to that page as I'm standing in line, and I looked down, and I just dropped the book on the ground. I was like, oh my God, I just ruined the movie for myself. Like, I actually yelled. I was that upset. The Emperor's dead, long live the Alliance. I was just like, that's it, it's over. Anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. Let's go on to our artist. I'll shut up now. Ben's like 1983.
1980.
Pumpkin Audrey says, I'm with you, Terri.
That's right. But it didn't ruin it for you because you're still into Star Wars and you've seen many movies ever since, and the saga goes on and on and on.
I'm not going to get into this. I'm not going to get into this.
So you think it ended the way it ended, but it didn't. So anyway.
You know what we forgot to talk about?
What?
Support.
Oh.
And you know what? This right here was really nice support.
Yes, that's
I love
awesome
that.
support.
I love that. But
Thank
can
you.
we just really quickly, and we're not going to do the same support thing we've been doing every week because I have to say this. Number one, please check out Susan Stillman's work. She's very generous. She's been donating to us, and we're really excited to give away that painting. It is a slow, incremental crawl, but we also feel like we don't want to bore you with the same exact thing that we keep saying night after night after night. So I will say this, right? All I'm going to say is this, okay? That's it, okay? What? Okay. I'm done.
Okay.
All right. Terri doesn't even know what to do with that.
I don't know what to
I think
do
you
with
feel a
that.
little bit uneasy about that.
I'm just as surprised as you all are.
Okay, so Jaune, quick to see Smith.
Jaune, quick to see Smith.
Can you tell us a little?
I can. I just have to flip to my pages. So she's a very interesting artist. Todd came across her earlier this week, and he said, you have to see this. So I took a look at his screen. We had somebody else planned, but when he showed me her work, within 2 or 3 paintings, I thought, yes, this is a good person to feature right away.
We do, of course, we plan out, our calendar is planned out really far out. We've got artists listed the whole way down.
Changes.
And then we keep looking for more, obviously. And so when I saw her work, and I said to Terri, I was like, we really should look at this. There were a couple of things, especially about the recent acquisition thing.
Yes.
I thought, well, why don't we bump this up because this is really important.
Yeah.
So
I
anyway.
agree. So anyway, Jaune Quick to See Smith. She is Shoshone French Cree. She was born on January 15th, 1940 at St. Ignatius in the Indian Mission on Flathead Reservation. She's enrolled in, she's an enrolled member of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. A lot to say. I had to look that up myself because I didn't quite understand it. I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to Native American culture.
I'd say uninformed.
Uninformed.
Ignorance, like almost, I don't think you're unwilling.
You think ignorant means unwilling too?
I think,
does it?
well, ignorant means uneducated, but I think there's a certain sort of there's a harsher aspect to ignorant over uninformed. I think uninformed just means okay, well, let's go figure it out.
All right.
Right.
Well, in any event, I looked that up, and basically that the Kootenai tribes, they have this governing body which determines Indian law, and she's a part of that. She has a slow progression through her education. She grew up on a reservation. She was raised by a single dad who often was working in a way. So there were periods where he would go away and she would go into foster care. She spent part of her life in Native American culture, but she also spent part of her life in Caucasian culture, like out and about and off the reservation. She has an interesting view on her childhood because she often reflects on it and uses symbols in her works now. But when she speaks of it, she talks about certain things that she's drawn to, like animals, because that was something she could rely on, and that was a nurturing part of her childhood. And then she will allude to her father. Her father was a big figure in her life. She remembers certain things like him drawing pictures and her carrying them around in her
animals.
pocket.
I love
of
that.
animals. So she's got these really charming memories, but she also has these harsher memories, which she kind of refers to a little bit, where he's not there, or
but she doesn't.
missed.
She alludes. She doesn't
She
really get into the
alludes. She
details.
never says
on
that anything
Yeah.
negative, but I kind of got the hint that something might not be working out there. But in any event, she went to school. When she was going through high school, she was drawn to art. Some of her earliest memories of art making was when she was around kindergarten, first grade. She remembers coming into contact with the materials like paste and crayons, and she loved the smell of them and the look of them. Sometimes she even liked the taste of them because she tried them. And as she grew up, she did look towards art. In high school, she was in art classes. She thought about pursuing art, but she was discouraged actually by a high school instructor or a college instructor about pursuing that, because they said this is primarily a field for men and you're a woman and it won't quite work. Didn't stop her. She went on to school. There's periods throughout her education where she stopped her education because she had to go work and make some money so that she could keep going to school. So she held lots of different jobs during the time period. But her first degree was an associate's from Olympic College in 1960 in art. She continued to make art, but she went on to work as a domestic worker or a factory worker, or sometimes she did daycare, sometimes she worked as a waitress. So she carried all these odds and ends jobs. She did return to school in the 70s and graduated with her bachelor's in 1976, excuse me, so it was like 16 years later, with art education from Framingham State College. And then she did complete her master's degree 4 years later at the Visual Arts of New Mexico. So she did complete that.
I'm noticing that when you do your background info for us on our artists, you have often pointed out their first memory of making work. With Alexander McQueen, I remember that, and with Jaune, I'm hearing that too, and I know you've done that other times. And you're talking about smells and tastes. I'm curious do you have a favorite smell when it comes to art materials? Because you immediately ignited for me the smell of a rubber kneaded eraser.
Oh.
Because that to me is like an art classroom. I mean, I know there's always the painting room, right? Of course. But a rubber kneaded eraser was one of my first memories of a real art material with a very distinctive smell. And listening to you talk about her early memories made me think of that. But what do you guys have? Can you think of one that just kind of sets you off, that makes you think this is okay, we're in the art space now. This is an art material. Just a thought. White jar paste from Mom. Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because that was one of her memories too, was the paste and tasting the paste. So.
Why do people eat paste?
I don't know, but you know what? I can remember being in nursery school and taking a little lick just to see. So, and plus, they had those popsicle sticks that you spread it on. Do you remember those? They had those like little, so when you're giving a kid a popsicle stick in a jar of white paste and it kind of smells sweet and it tastes a little sweet, so I don't know. It's just how it goes. So Amanda Tolan.
Muslin burning. Clay.
Memory vessel says
Fabric
fixer.
under an iron. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Memory vessel says fixer. Ben Hagenbush says clay. Yep, all those things.
Oh God, fixer is like really another one of those, right? That's like totally the dark room. It's like the. Did you ever smell fixer in the dark room?
Yes.
That's good stuff. We're steering away. I'm sorry, I steered us off the artist, but it got the chat rolling.
We don't really
again.
have those experiences anymore with the way photography is going. I guess they still have.
Oh,
dark
they do.
rooms
They do. They still have traditional dark rooms, analog dark rooms, in most institutions. I think if you tried to completely there are schools that are completely getting rid of that, but I think it comes with a backlash from the students.
Yeah.
Right? You'd be surprised how many students right now want to learn traditional materials, and universities feel like it's their job to move forward, and so and the students fight back. So it is what it is. All right, let's talk about her work.
Okay. So in the 70s, she was mostly dealing with complex abstract paintings. This one's a little bit more Twombly-esque, like with her mark making and stuff like that.
When I chose the images for tonight's show, I went straight off her website because the paintings on her website are selected works. It says it right on there, selected works. And so I figured, well, if these are what she is selecting for her website to represent her, we're going to take it in that order and use those as well because it just feels right.
Yeah, so this first one is untitled. It's from her Prairie series in 1978. It's pastel, charcoal, and watercolor on paper, 22 and a half inches by 15 inches. I will say, when I think of her, I don't think of works like this. So this is fascinating that she
It's also, to me, it's a really difficult image to start on. And John, by the way, says, learned more about photography by shooting an 8x10 than any other way. Sorry to continue the sidebar. No, that's totally fine. And I think that's really important because, the tendency to move away from this stuff, I think, is in the end or down the road going to be damaging. It's a story for another time, but I'm not going to get into that too much. Wood burning for Ben is one of his smells.
I do think it's okay to talk about that, though. I know we're doing an artist and stuff, but it's kind of like we're sitting in a bar in free association sometimes.
Right.
Talking,
you just want to run with it? You want to run with it?
Well, yeah. Although John Park is saying
show idea. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good one.
Well, and I think that actually is one that's more of, or could be a really cool like panel discussion to have, is to talk about these notions of, get 5 or 6 people in on the conversation from different points of view and see where we land, and to not necessarily have, like there's a really interesting story about, I think I said this on a show one night, but at Rhode Island School of Design when I was there was this real dissatisfaction amongst the undergrads, and they had courses in things like holograms and lasers and really advanced stuff that you could take, and glass blowing and other traditional means, but requiring a lot of technology and facility to pull off. But there's still dissatisfaction amongst the students about they're not giving them enough. So they reached out and they said, all right, let's take a vote to all the sculpture undergrads. What do you want to learn? And they decided that they would take the overwhelming winner and make it a course. Do you know what won?
What?
Stone carving. Talk about going all the way back.
Yeah.
And so they did a course in stone carving. They took 2 van loads of students up to a quarry in either New Hampshire or Vermont. They picked out their pieces of alabaster and marble, and they came back and learned how to carve stone, carve marble by hand. Fantastic. But not at all what you ever would have expected, right? And I don't really mean to naysay the universities now, but they tend to be more tuned to faculty research than student need. 100%. And I'll back that up, and I've stood right there in that line of fire, and that is a fact, that the student need. I was impressed with RISD's ability to say, okay, what do you want? Let's do it. Rather than saying, no, I'm going to tell you what you need, because we know.
Yeah. Well,
So anyway,
okay.
moving on.
Moving on. So this was one of the selected pieces. Going back to some of her background, though, just to get that out of the way, she has won numerous awards. I'm just going to kind of finish the biographical stuff so that we can move forward.
Can I move forward on an image just so
You
we can keep it fresh here?
So she's won numerous awards. She actually has 4 honorary doctorate degrees, one from Minneapolis College of Art and Design, the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, Massachusetts College of Arts, and the University of New Mexico.
Good schools.
She's collected in museums all over the place, from Brooklyn Museum, the Met, MoMA, National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C.
Which is one thing we want to talk about.
Whitney, Smithsonian. Yep.
And I'm not sure the order that those collections happened in, but the one that I think stands out is the National Gallery.
That is an important thing, yes. And that was recent, so...
Well, we'll wait till we get to the
We'll wait till
particular
we get to
piece
that particular piece.
that sort of rests on that point. But let's keep going. So, I'm moving in order here, and if we go back to this first one, we see this really, sort of almost delicately painted, drawn image of watercolor pencil, a little bit glyph-like, with some mark making in there that almost seems to reference like a glyph-like kind of symbol. And then there's like this real tentative feel with the color. And, I feel like she's really starting to find her way, or she's working in a real kind of, in a way that's trying to communicate in a way I'm not necessarily attuned to. You said Cy Twombly, and I think that's perfect because I feel like it's got those elements in it. Those letter forms are present in here. But I was troubled showing this one first because sometimes when I put up that first image, you're just like, oh my God, look at this person. Look at what we're looking at here. And I think it's good to start off with something like this because when you see the range within which she works, her range of mark making, her range of content, it's really quite broad, and it really shows how diversified she is in her practice, even though it is all about painting. All right, so then we move on to this second one that I showed you, and now that sort of glyph-like nature, that symbolism, that sort of mark, the directionality starts to become a little bit more recognizable or a little bit more determined.
This is still part of the Prairie series in 1978. This one's pastel and charcoal on paper. She uses a lot of symbolism, like naturalist elements, with the teepees. You see the teepee is a recurring symbol in much of her artwork, as well as some of the animal symbols as well. Her palette usually is in the soft browns and the reds and the greens, very earth tone. They're reminiscent of things that she encountered when she was a child. Like she was talking about how she would marvel at the suede on, or the leather on a saddle, or the cords on the ropes. So some of these earth tones are coming from some of her earlier memories.
Yeah, and it's like there's a tactility to the work itself too, in the way it feels like the marks are applied. So like with the pastel or the tool, there's almost a scratch that almost feels like that actual surface, right? So then we move forward to something like this, and there's this really sort of push towards that glyph, that mark making, that language, right? I think Carla Knight, when I see this, like really heavily, I know that they're not necessarily related in any...
Well, there's more of an order to this one than there was to the others, because you see some repetition of the patterns and some like graphical lining up of these shapes.
Oh my God, John Park's making a really good comment right now. He's like, of course, New Mexico. I think about Agnes Martin. Did they ever meet? Work is different, obviously, but the soft tones and the lightness of touch is similar. And you know what else is similar, John, is if we go back one here, there's sort of a faint hint at a grid, right? And so Agnes Martin seems to be a really obvious connection there. And given their ages, I wonder if they had met, because how old is Jaune now?
She's close to my parents' age. She was born in 1940. So
and I don't know Agnes Martin's birthday, but I will tell you in a second. So I would bet...
81 this year?
Agnes Martin?
No, Jean Quick to C. Smith.
I think Agnes Martin is gone. I'm almost...
Now, she knew a lot of
she's been gone
artists,
for a while.
So I wouldn't be surprised if she encountered her, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, and she died in Taos, New Mexico in 2004. I'm talking Agnes Martin, and she was born in 1912. So older, but not much. 20 years.
Yeah.
So
Not quite sure.
anyway, I think that's a really good point. Anyway, let's go back to this other one here. So you were talking about more of an order and repetition of pattern in this one. And I think that, she's kind of developing her language, right? It feels like one of the reasons I like this progression of these three is it's kind of walking you through a development, a process. And so, for what it's worth. But I do like this piece a lot.
I like the different mark making too, because you see like some cross hatching in that lower third with it's almost like a house-like structure. It's like a bale of hay or something. And she's trying to make sense of these squares going through, and it's almost like she's got a thought process. Even in the bottom plane, they're moving across.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. There seems to be some kind of obvious obvious decision-making process through these, like a yes/no kind of thing. And then as we get a little bit further in, we see something like this, and this is a total shift now, right? We've got an all-over use of the surface. We've got. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, this one's almost a decade later, too,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
And she chooses to make this jump in the website, which I wasn't comfortable with, but I figured, this is how I wanted to do it.
Right. So this piece is called Georgia on My Mind. It was in 1986. It's about a decade later after the first three pieces. It's oil on canvas, 64 by 48 inches.
And now, that we're moving more towards, we've got obvious figures in here. We've got a much more sort of vibrant use of color here. We've got a little bit more of I don't want to say sophisticated, but it feels like the color handling is a little bit more conscious or confident, right? And so that to me says a lot about what happened in that decade, right? So, but I love the energy in this piece. I think that this is one of her stronger works that we're going to see. And there's both kind of a reference to flatness. There's a reference to an organic form that actually has dimensionality. There's kind of like this transition of figures through in and out of that space. It's a really strange piece to me, but I'm kind of captivated by it. So what was the name on this one again? I'm sorry, Georgia on My Mind.
Georgia on My Mind. I was actually trying to look up Georgia in 1986 to see if there was some kind of event that might have inspired this painting. See, and it's interesting when she talks about her paintings. She often explains the symbols. I think I was telling you that earlier today. That when she's picking representational symbols, she often tells you that this means this and this alludes to this. And I'm curious to see what she would say about this one, because I'm not quite sure what everything does allude to. To me, it's very liquid on the one side, and then it moves to a more solid form, and then it branches out again into a more humanistic animal kind of form. But
see, I
know you don't like.
Well, as John was saying earlier, idea for another show.
Yeah.
Another one of these topics of discussion I want to talk about is this idea of this very direct assigning of symbols to meaning.
But she does that.
I know.
She's very intentional with that. Like, she wants to tell you what things mean. And in fact, there's not many documentaries on her. There was maybe 3 movies on her. One was fascinating. It's from 1980, so you see her as a young woman. A lot of ASMR components. You see the coffee pot pouring, and you hear like things going on in the background, her dogs. But she's telling you about her artworks, and she's telling you about the symbols, and it's almost like she's telling you what to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now that to me relates very directly to the choices she makes in using glyph-like forms, because those tend to be very sort of directly pointed symbols. Letters are, right? And we know an R is an R because it's supposed to, do something with the way in which we speak and understand words. So when we're working like that, Yes. But then when you get to one like this, I would really have a hard time if all of this sort of beautiful abstraction had very direct meaning tied to it that I was supposed to sort of interpret, right? And I love John's comment here. It's like Picasso on the left, Bernice Abbott transformed into a Cubist painting in the middle, and on Starry Night turned into abstractionism on the right. And and I think that's actually a really good comment, because it is likely, and given what I've heard her say, because we watched a couple of videos that had interviews with her, and she is really connected to the canon of art history, right? She really has a good connection to contemporary artists that were working all through the periods that she worked in. She understood their work. She communicated with them. She went to their shows. So she lived in a very sort of a connected box to the contemporary art world, right? This was not something that was happening in a void, right? So I think that all those things are possible right there. But I still want to have that show where we talk about this idea of assigning why we.
Because we're trying to understand it.
I know that, but yes, I know that. I don't mean to sound annoyed. I'm annoyed with myself that I can't get the words out on this one. It's because I'm drinking a cream soda. I'm not going to hold this beer up again, but if anyone wants 3 cans of beer, they're available.
Is it that bad?
It's bad. Try it. Try the beer. Watch this.
Wow. It's also like flatty.
It's totally
like
flat.
It's like a flat.
There's no head. There's no body to it. It's
got
like
a cool can.
weak.
That's a bummer.
I told you.
Yeah.
Memory Vessel says Cezanne.
I see Cezanne.
Yeah.
I see the elements too.
No, I think Cezanne's a good reference
Yes,
here.
no, I
A
absolutely do.
Little cypress tree
Sure,
thing happening,
Yeah.
All right, let's
move on.
let's move on, because this one is zoomed in way too far. First of all, hold on a minute, because this is an important piece.
Okay.
We're gonna back way out. Don't worry, I'll come back in so you can see it. But I wanted you to see that number one, this is a diptych, top on bottom, diptych, and there's a piece missing from this image, and I'll show that to you in a second. But take it away.
So this is done a few years later. This one's called Target. It was painted in 1992.
I see red.
I see red, right? But it's part of the I See Red story, the I See Red series that she did, and the name is Target.
Sorry.
A 1992 oil, acrylic, and mixed media on canvas. It is a diptych, top bottom, 56 by 42 inches. It is missing an important piece.
Let's go to that. I'm going to scroll up. There is an actual target, with darts in it on the top.
Correct.
Reminiscent of Jasper Johns, of course.
This painting made headlines this past October because it is the first painting created by a Native American that was acquired by the National Gallery of Art.
Not a Native American woman, a Native American.
Yes.
So the first painting by a Native American acquired by the National Gallery in Washington, D.C.
Now, they do have other works by Native Americans.
Last year!
But this is the first painting, so
it's not like they're completely void of Native American work of other kinds, but painting, I think for the 20th century seemed to be the domain of a very different group of people. And this is okay. So let's talk about this for a minute, because I'm going to zoom in now so we can kind of take a closer look at this. And I really am. So I had a discussion with Terri before the show started tonight, because I'm having a hard time with this painting. And I really feel like once we see some of the paintings I have after this one in the slideshow, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. Did you want to say anything? Because I'm like...
I think you phrased it Well, I think you can go ahead and
Can I just jump ahead to another
just
painting
jump
real quick?
ahead. Sure.
I want to just jump ahead to one of Jaune's other paintings.
Actually, I mean, you could jump to any one of those three.
I know, that's what I was going to do. I was going to
Yeah.
pull up this one. Take a look at this. This is a gorgeous painting, okay? It's a gorgeous painting, and it really effectively gets at what she's trying to say.
Yes.
Okay, so she took a lot of, this is not the one where she took out the names of the states and left the ones.
Yes, it is. She erased all European
Cities.
cities.
And she only placed the cities in here that were referencing Native American tribes.
Yes.
Okay, but the painting also has a certain viscosity, a certain layering, a certain beautiful
Fantastic
diffusion and
mark
linear
making,
quality. Yeah, there's a nice
fantastic
contrast.
palette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a really fantastic painting. Okay, and you're gonna see more just beautifully fantastic paintings. This one, we're gonna go back to Target.
This one's okay.
This is not her best work. I will tell you this. I'm really excited about Jaune Quick-to-See-Smith as an artist and learning about her work, and I feel like her work is brilliant. I feel like the National Gallery could have acquired a different piece here. I'm wondering why this is the one they chose.
It does have some hallmarks of her style. She's using some juxtaposed images of Native Americans. It is placed in the pop culture
Let's
gallery,
move in a little bit
close to Jasper Johns' flag, and then there's some Warhol in there. And together with those pieces, there's actually an interesting dialogue. But you do see some appropriated images of Native Americans, and she's making a statement about that, including some of the typography that she's choosing. The choice of red, the way in which she lays that down on the canvas. So these are all deliberate choices. I think it's a strong piece. It's not my favorite piece of hers. I think that she has stronger pieces that are beautiful. I think
okay.
I think it's funny because it's not funny, haha, but funny, coincidental,
Curious.
funny, yes. There's the Washington Redskins juxtaposed in the image, and it's down in Washington, D.C., so I thought that was an interesting correlation.
I feel like I feel like the National Gallery wanted it easy in this. Okay, I feel like this notion of the symbolism in this painting there are easy connections to make to everything you're supposed to understand about this painting. They're quick, right? Yes, there's a direct reference to Jasper Johns. This painting is actually hanging in a gallery right across from Jasper Johns. Mm-hmm. There is the notion of the Washington Redskins, which is a very direct, very now. I would love to know. I would love to know how that is going to stand up in 50 years when it's hanging in the National Gallery, because people aren't even going to, I mean, yes, of course, there's research and understanding context
history,
and history. Yes. But I feel like this is very in a time moment right now, right? And I feel like it comes as a very sort of, the museum's agenda is really largely based in this over-the-top education sort of thing. I know you're raising your eyebrows at me like you need to go to bed. No, this goes to my whole thing about wall texts and audio guides and really not wanting to look at this for a picture. And to me, this is something I'm going to read. This is not something I'm necessarily going to look at. However, when I look at a painting like this, and to me, this is a much more critical look at the United States. And if I were going to pick a painting by a Native American that looked at this nation critically, I feel like this is so much more effective at doing that in
Maybe
a way.
Somebody else bought it.
I don't know. But I love these.
I love this. I love that painting too. To answer John Park's question, he's saying it's hard to tell on screen, but is this a collage of printed articles that has been painted over?
Yes.
Yes, it's a mixed media piece. There's oil, acrylic, and mixed media on canvas. So she did juxtapose those images on there and layer them in.
Yeah, John says he agrees. The map is strong, and there are other maps. And
There are other maps, and that's a common theme that she works with as well. I mean, this one. So this was one of the first pieces Todd pointed out, and that's what caught my eye immediately. And I said,
love
"Oh
this.
yes, we
I
have to
love
do
this.
this person. This was the piece that drew me in." And then there's another piece too that we don't have a picture of, but it's a blue bust. I put it on the Instagram if anybody wants to see it.
but again, if you want the Jasper Johns reference, it's here.
Yeah,
Right?
it certainly is.
We've got that in a less direct way, right? In a less sort of didactic way. This to me feels so much more genuine. It's got the glyph forms in it that are, sort of true to her beginnings. And I mean beginnings as an artist.
So this one was created 8 years later. This was a 2000 piece. It's untitled Memory Map Mixed Media on Paper, 46 by 34 inches.
And then there is one more map
And
in
again,
here.
This one's gorgeous too. I mean,
Oh
'cause
yeah, we
that-
should go up to that one
that
because
has a lot to say.
and let's just take the time context of some of the artists we're talking about here. We talked a little bit about Agnes Martin. We're talking about Jasper Johns. Let's talk about Robert Rauschenberg. Let's talk about, some of these really influential people. And from a collage standpoint and an integration of paint and collage and symbolism, oh my God, this piece is strong.
Yes.
This piece blows my mind.
This one's called Going Forward, Looking Back, 1996, oil and mixed media on canvas, 50 by 120 inches. Yes, I love the layered images on there.
Yeah. And 67 says this one is more Rauschenberg, though. And I think he's talking about the one I had before that, the one with the banner. That, and then Ben says that is even better. So, everybody's sort of like, I saved these other pieces to come after the National Gallery one, not only because that's the order they're in on the site.
You wanted to say why.
I wanted to be like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Yep, this is pretty.
I guess I just feel like, I obviously am not going to be the guy making the decisions for the National Gallery's picks, but I think I would have a real long conversation about what happened here. Let's look at a couple of others that come right after the Target piece, just in terms of the chronology. This is what's the name of this one again? I'm sorry.
It's called Indian Hand, 1992. So it was painted the same year that Target was painted.
I'm gonna get in close so we can.
It's mixed media on canvas as well. Again, you see the images of Native American culture juxtaposed with comic strips. Juxtaposed with headlines regarding landfills, ecology. That was another one of her big issues, environmental issues.
Right. I guess I just feel like I'm having a difficult time with, like, even this one. I love this piece, actually. I feel like this one is
Not one of my favorites.
This is not one of your favorites,
No,
and I get
that's
that.
okay.
I get that. But if I'm going to sort of chase down this whole notion of this glyph form, like this simplistic drawing, her need to kind of understand her place in the world and this use of these headlines and these articles and sort of burying them in this really intense red paint, whether it's symbolic of, war paint, blood, death, something tragic, fire. There's so many things that this could live in. This is not a comfortable image to look at, but I feel like this one at least, look at some of the way in which language is used in the things she's picking. Chiefs get big play, Maryland Chief, Mischief. I feel like that as a critique of words, look at this, 92 Cherokees. These are cars, right? I feel like this is a much more effective way, I think, of getting at that critique. I mean, the Washington Redskins one is definitely an issue, right? The ways in which these sports teams use these names is absolutely not where we should be as a country, and I don't deny that. But I feel like as a symbol in a piece of art, it came with too much attached to it, right? And it just pushed the piece all the way into that topic. I can't go anywhere else in that piece but the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
And frankly, I hate football. So that's just, Anyway,
I hear you.
we heard a song today that actually sort of summed up You want to hear something funny? Listen to a song called "Sports" by the Viagra Boys. No, don't.
No, it's very entertaining. Actually, it's pretty good too.
It's kind of good.
It has a good.
It's kind of good. But as we were listening to it, Terry was like, "This sounds like you're singing it." All right, so let's quick jump down here. I've got a couple other ones I really want to talk. Well, should we talk about the maps a little bit more? Let's go back to this one. I really love these pieces.
Yep. So these were all created in 2000. This one up on the screen is Tribal Map, mixed media on canvas, 80 by 120 inches. And like we said before, she was trying to obliterate European dominance on the map. She was trying to bring it back to its roots in Native Americans.
Right. And it's probably also incredibly frustrating looking at this map and seeing direct references to your history, your culture, intermixed, intertwined, overshadowed by, dominated by, the other European names that are in there. Right.
What I do love about this map, and I'm just going to speak from a regionalist perspective, like I'm looking over, like we live in New Jersey, and I'm looking over here and you can see the Lenni Lenape, and I've always heard stories about them inhabiting the land here. And there's actually a really cool reservoir right around the corner that has ties to the Lenni Lenape Indians. Called Round Valley Reservoir. It has a complex history, but just hearing that history, the Indians were forced off the land. They settlers paid them pennies on the dollar to acquire this beautiful, rich soil, and they basically drove them off. And then years later, in the 60s, when the reservoir...
But first farmers inhabited that land after they were driven off.
Right, so the farmers developed their communities and started families, and they had the church and all these buildings and stores and a whole community. And then in the 60s, they acquired it, they meaning the government, had acquired it because they were going to turn it into a reservoir, and it was to siphon water out towards Hoboken and Jersey City and all of that. And they basically did the same thing to the farmers that the farmers did to the Indians. So they paid them pennies on the dollar for those properties, drove them off the land, and now it's a big public reservoir that was filled in and
comes back around.
It does come back around. So it's an interesting story, but it's interesting to look at this map, and not just from like a negative standpoint, like how, and I'm not saying that's not her intention. Aside from what her intention is, it is fantastic to look at this and see the history of where they lived. And I'm even looking at Rappahannock County down in Virginia, because I've been down to Rappahannock County and seeing that that's, where they had inhabited. I mean, this is really a treasure. This would be fantastic to have.
I agree. And I think having this hanging in the National Gallery, it speaks volumes to this. There's, I should not have said it comes back around, because that to me assumes that they got it back. And so, the farmers they got it handed to them.
It wasn't right either. I mean, it just goes to show like these injustices, but it kind of,
the injustice cycle continues.
Circle, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Ben asked if there was text on this, so I zoomed in so you guys could see some of the references that are made in this piece. John Park says it would be interesting if someone created a multimedia projection of a map that rotated between names influenced by every culture. You could start with this and then move on to the Spanish and then Mexican and move on to Asian, German. That's a really great idea. Yeah, because then I think then what would be interesting about that map is you'd also see the way pockets of different cultures were sort of distributed through the country as well. I think that could do things on a number of levels, which could be really interesting. 67 says, are the colors in this map symbolic in some kind of way? It's a strange but earthy palette.
This is pretty, I don't know the full answer to your question, but this is pretty typical of the palette that she usually likes to employ in some of her other works. She likes the earth tones. That's the palette she's most comfortable in. They remind her of her childhood and being home and the reservation and the soil and the leather and the saddle. And she did make mention of that particular palette.
And she, at different times in her life, like in some of the videos that we were watching on her, and I recommend you go out and actually look at some of those, but there's an interesting way in which she evolves and changes, because some of them are from when she was much younger, and then some are from more recent times, and she's older in those. And it's interesting to see her sort of shift and change in the way that she talks about her work. But to 67's point, in some of the earlier ones when she was younger, there's this one where they keep repeating the same it's not the same shot, but they are constantly having a pot of coffee or a cup of coffee in almost every scene. She's either pouring it or drinking it,
or it's percolating,
or it's brewing on the table. And that made me, there's a certain kind of comfort of home, hominess, the smells, ritual. All those things are sort of embodied in that kind of thing, and I liked that. And there's an earthiness to that.
There is an earthiness.
I don't think that has anything to do with her color choices, but I'm just, I think that's just part of who she is, right?
It was interesting watching that video from 1980, and you can see it on YouTube. It's from when she was very young, and it's like 15 minutes or so, but seeing that then and having all that beautiful nostalgic film quality of a 1980s kind of documentary in conjunction with watching something of her now, she seems to have evolved quite a bit. Like even when she speaks, because we were even commenting, she was much more soft spoken maybe when she was younger, and as she grew, she got a little bit bolder when she was talking. So that was kind of interesting to see.
To John's point about different cultures on the map, this one has a lot of references to Chinese characters, Chinese ads in newspapers, and of course the Chinese were used as slaves to develop parts of the West and develop this country, and I think there was a lot of connections between those two cultures in that way. I don't know exactly why she's using it in this piece. But
this is called, hold on, I will give you a little hint. This piece is called Echo, too.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
2000 oil and paper collage on canvas.
I intentionally, I do want to say this. I intentionally come to some of these shows without researching a ton, because I really want the works to speak for themselves.
Well, I like stumbling upon them as we would if we were out in the world. Like if we were in a gallery and be like, oh my God, because you want that spontaneity and that gut reaction.
But I also want to show our viewers, especially the ones that might be new to painting or new to art in general, and are, probably not connecting to, let's say there was, like I look at a lot of shows that are out there, podcasts, videos on art and shows, and they're great, but they tend to be the type of thing that a new person coming to them would be probably really intimidated by. And I want to show our viewers that it's like, okay, here's a painting, let's talk about it. Let's just kind of shoot from the hip and build upon a language without necessarily having to do a lot of reading, right? Which is, it's a visual experience. That's to me is what we're supposed to be doing. All right, I'm moving on.
Okay.
Whoa. We've gone to a whole different place now.
This is different. So this one is from 2001. It's called Imperialism. It's oil and acrylic on canvas. It's pretty large, 72 by 48 inches, so 6 feet by 4 feet.
It's kind of moving into, like we're talking about all these other artists that we're trying to reference in here, but I'm like thinking Basquiat, there's the skulls that are in there. There's this kind of, the drawing aspect in her painting is definitely sort of evolving now into something that's, the graphic nature of it is there, right? But they're also sort of layered and disappearing into the distance and fading. I really am interested in these actually.
I love the development more of some of these forms too. Like that star is much more developed than some of these other figures, which are just kind of left. So I really like that.
So, we are really late on time, so I want to just kind of move.
So
I want to keep moving through these.
This one is called War is Heck, 2002 lithograph with something I cannot pronounce.
What is it?
Blow this up for you. What is this?
Oh, Chincolet.
Thank you.
Chincolet is a process in printmaking where you actually use it's an archival adhesive in the actual press process. So you might use a piece of interesting, let me see if I can find what's Chincolet into this piece. Let's zoom in a little bit and I can show you where, sometimes you can actually see what's Chincolet in. So it's possible that those flags are, imagine collage in printmaking, right? And the process of attaching your collage piece, like that little hand right there, that hand is definitely Chincolet in there. So you're attaching collage elements through the impact and the weight of the press. This is a beautiful piece.
This is gorgeous.
I like this piece.
I do too.
And again, I feel like she is. I feel like some of the more subtle aspects of her color use, like these maps that we talked about, right? These more recent pieces. I feel like she has a much better. Better's a terrible word. There's a more effective conveyance of, I think, the material through these. It gives me an easier time walking through them.
Well, thinking back on the maps too in that palette choice, I mean, she's talking about the earth too, and she's picking these very earthy tones.
Yeah, Ben's liking on this one. I think this is the one. Or no, Ben's probably liking on the last one. I think that's the one Ben's talking about. Let's jump ahead here, and now I think we're really getting into something kind of cool here. These are interesting to me.
So this is 2004. This is called Celestial Circle. Mixed media on canvas, also rather large, 72 by 48 inches. She's got some juxtaposed Disney going on.
Is there? Oh yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
There's a Mickey hand in there.
She's got the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. Some Snow White on the right.
Oh, I don't like this anymore.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I didn't realize that Mickey hand was there, but you're right.
Yeah, there's
well,
some,
look, I
Disney
think
reference,
think a Disney reference is important in terms of how the.
Well, she's making a statement here. I mean, look at this bat hanging upside down.
Oh, I know, that's fantastic. It's fantastic. I feel like a critical look at Disney.
I don't think she's loving on Disney in this painting.
No, she's definitely not. And there's definitely this really ominous cloak form in the middle that stands above it all and sort of presides over the composition and is sort of being sort of gently
I think she's
touched upon.
Making a statement on it, not necessarily a positive one.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Okay, now this one.
This one is 2011. It's called Shock and Awe. Oil and acrylic on canvas, 72 by 48 inches.
A reference to old Georgie Boy's campaign in the Middle East.
I love this, though. I like what she's doing with these orb-like shapes.
Well, they're reminiscent of those nighttime images of the tracers that were attached to some of the weaponry that was being fired upon in the Middle East. In the night sky, right? And of course the headless, armless, legless body, it's holding the baby here. It's sort of like, it's an anonymous kind of form.
This is great.
And then it gets a little bit more difficult with the last one.
Yeah.
And by difficult, I mean this one, oh, wait a minute, sorry. This one, again, I feel like some of them hit the mark with what they're saying. Like this, like if we go back to this one, all right, and let me zoom out for a second. In this painting, there are direct references to symbolic things, but they're subtle, right? And there's a way for us to extrapolate meaning from that in a subtle, interesting kind of way. And then I come over to this one, and I feel like it's like I don't know whether I don't know whether the artist feels like I need to know this more, like I need to be told more what this is about, but it feels like there's too much.
This one's called Which Comes First, and 2004. Mixed media on canvas, 72 by 48 inches.
How is she doing now with shows and working? What's going on right now?
Honestly, I don't know. I think COVID-19 put a stop on it. I did see her give a Zoom presentation with the Ulrich Museum of Art, in which she had some work displayed. But I think it might be picking up, just like the rest of the art world is probably picking up a little bit right now.
Yeah, I think these works are actually great. You know, like when I get down to it and I start talking about some of the things I'm critical of in these, you know, I think I don't want to come across as being hypercritical of this work, right? I had a problem with the National Gallery's choice of her paintings because I feel like there are so many better ones out there. But I feel like all of her work, in the diversity of her practice, the diversity of her imagery, I should say, is a really interesting look into her evolution as an artist, and I really like that. I really enjoy that. But I think that, you know, I might come across as being too critical when I talk about that. I mean, look at the difference between a piece like this, right?
Well, you see the evolution of her career. I mean, she's been around since the 70s, so almost 50 years with painting. So and drawing, and we see how she's grown. Going back to your question about what's she doing now, I gotta say her current exhibitions are currently blank. But it looks like 2019, 2018, she was exhibiting a lot in Colorado, like West Coast, Midwest, Montana, those kinds, that region of the country.
Well, I love this work, and I feel like she's definitely somebody to watch. I think she's somebody to keep an eye on. I'd love to actually see, you know, I feel like also this is a show we would need to go and see.
Yes.
I really would love to see the work firsthand.
Well, we can go down to DC and see that painting in person.
Well, if there were more, I would love to. I don't know if I want to go just to see the one. I mean, I'd see the one.
There's a lot of
the National Gallery is a great museum
anyway. It's the National Gallery of Art.
But I wish I could just see like a whole show of her work. A retrospective is in order, I think, here. All right, it's getting late. And we've held on to you guys for far too long, and we appreciate, of course, you being here. We have an awesome show lined up next week, and powdered wigs.
Powdered wigs, not next week.
Not next week, but I think powdered wigs are in the near future.
And you should all wear powdered wigs too.
No,
yes.
They should not wear powdered wigs.
Send us pictures.
Send us pictures of your powdered wigs. Yes. VW road trip down to the National Gallery. We
can't do this like a Zoom call and have all the windows with people in their powdered wigs.
We actually could do that.
That would be kind of fun. It would be like a party.
Okay, so maybe for the anniversary show, we take we do a little like curated invitation.
Yes.
Right? A Zoom call grid, like a Brady Bunch style grid on the screen, and everyone has powdered wigs.
There you go. Emery Vessel saying night, kids.
Jess Park says, this has been excellent. Thanks so much. Ordering my powdered wig now.
Awesome.
Good. Always enjoy learning about an artist I do not know. Thanks again for these shows. You're welcome. Thank you for coming to them. Join us next week. We've got somebody really good lined up. And
I picked him out.
Enjoy your week this week. And we need to toast, even though I'm really reluctant. I'm really reluctant to have any more of this.
Do you want to toast and then drink some of mine?
No, if I toast, I have to drink this.
Okay.
Everybody, have a great week. We will see you very soon. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Hamlett. All right.